Hey everyone, we're going to get started in a couple minutes. Just wanted to come on board and say hello, and we'll see y'all here very soon. Okay, everyone, it's 11 o'clock straight up and down on the Eastern time zone. We're going to get started right now. I want to welcome everybody to the webinar. It's great to see so many people coming into the room. We've got a great panel for you here today, and we're talking about customer retention in the age of COVID. So let me start out by introducing the panelists we have here. From left to right, I think I have that right. We've got Ryan Goodman from ConnectBooster. Ryan is the president of ConnectBooster, has been around the channel for any number of years now, and is responsible for a lot of improved receivables in the channel. Next, we have somebody who almost everyone knows and who probably almost everyone has received a drink coupon from at some point in their life, Rob Ray. Rob is by far the one who's going the most crazy as a result of the travel issues, but Rob's with Dado. Glad to have you here with us today, Rob. Matt Solomon is next. Matt is here from ID Agent, and very excited to have him on here. I think he's probably the one who's doing the most webinars, sort of a daily event for Matt at this point. Rob as well. And finally, we have Dan Winsley, who has grown a pretty magnificent beard since the headshot. I seem to be the only clean-shaven one. We may do a poll later as to who has the best Corona beard, but if everybody wants to come off mute, we'll dig in here and get started. First, a quick look at the agenda. There's a lot of stuff going on. We're going to have a few commercials from our sponsors today. We couldn't do this without our sponsors. The $5,000 giveaway is all a result of sponsor dollars, so I want to thank our sponsors right now. And with that, I will start the sponsorship conversation with Zomentum. So just an introduction to Zomentum for everyone. Zomentum is a sales automation tool built specifically for the channel and specifically for MSPs. It is a tool that combines CRM functionality, the ability to do sales assessments, proposals and quotes, and automation, as well as analytics of what's happening within your business and what's happening in conjunction with your peers in the industry. It's a great tool to help drive sales. There's some great information out there. With a sales automation tool, companies can increase their sales productivity by 12.5% and accelerate their financial close times up to 50%. So that means you work half as hard every time you want to go about closing new business. So that's just a little bit about Zomentum, one of our sponsors here today. We'll start out with the first question to the panel, which is, the conversation is all about customer retention. And one of the tools associated with customer retention is cutting price in order to either drive growth or eliminate competition or whatever. So the question to the panel is, should MSPs cut some of their services at this time to reduce costs to their customers? I'm going to start on my screen from the right to the left and start with Matt Solomon. Matt, what do you think about that?
Sure. So, I think every MSP, obviously, during these times has to look at their overall costs and how they're doing business. I mean, it's a good time to obviously reevaluate. But what we're hoping, obviously, is that this is more of a short-term crisis. We don't really know the full timeline, obviously. So I think an MSP really has to look at, if they're going to cut any services, what does that tell the customer in terms of like the longer term conversations? Because if you were for the last 6 months telling them they needed two-factor authentic, this is why they needed 2FA and this is why they needed backup, and you're enforcing that upon them, and then all of a sudden you're cutting back on some of that, what's that message that you're then telling them when you're pulling it back and then having another conversation 3 months from now. So I think that's probably one of the most important things that they'll have to think about is how are they going to have that conversation of what is the value of these services that we're bringing back to you 4 or 5 months from now when we basically just said to you that it's not a critical piece of our service offering.
Interesting. Rob, what do you think?
Well, I want to be very, very clear here, because the question is about cutting services, not cutting price. And I think there's been a couple of comments that have been made out in the field, and I think it's coming from a lot of the MSPs actually, where they're talking about reducing their price in order to help their ultimate end user customers. I think that in itself is a mistake. As far as reducing the amount of services that they're actually performing for end users, I think that's a conversation. Like, you have to be more of a consultant around that actual conversation, and actually sitting there and saying to them, look, what do you need from me at this particular time? What's your situation as far as like financially? Are you going to make it through this business? Ultimately, none of us want to lose any business through this. So I think being adaptive and almost maybe personalizing what you're offering to them at this particular time. But I want to be clear, like cutting your cost, or cutting your price of delivering those services is an absolute mistake. And you mentioned competition and dealing with competition. I think ultimately there's going to be some weaker MSPs that are going to lose through this, and ultimately your weaker competitors are going to get knocked out. Those end users are still looking for MSP services, so they'll find you. And let's not forget, the channel has been determined as an essential service. It comes at a premium.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's interesting. I don't know whether MSPs are experiencing a situation where it costs more to keep their businesses running right now or less. But I know, Dan, you and I were talking before the panel about this particular question, and you had kind of a one-word answer to it. Why don't you tell us what you think?
Well, thanks, Ted, and I thought it was mandatory to grow a beard for the panel since the other guys all had one, so I did. But yeah, my basic answer to this is no, absolutely not. I don't think proactively cutting costs, reducing your pricing, cutting services is the right thing to be doing. We don't have a lot of reference to go by in what we're going through globally here, but certainly if you look back to the downturn of 2008, the conditions we went through after 9/11, whenever there's this kind of turmoil in the marketplace, I would want you to add services. I would want you to look at opportunities to expand the services you're delivering, because they may have changed. To Matt's point, to look at cutting something just for the sake of cutting it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. You might shelve a few things, but I would look to, there's been an enormous opportunity coming out of remote working, and there's been data security prevention opportunities there. There has been literally an increase in hardware sales in a lot of cases as people move to remote. So I would be looking to add services, not focused on cutting costs or reducing services.
Ryan, anything to add here?
Well, I think a lot of it comes down to the verticals that you're serving, and to touch on Rob's statement, a lot of it comes down to the individual conversations with what those needs are with your end client, because let's face it, everyone moving remote so quick, security has become a big issue. Now, that does not lean in my mind towards cutting services, especially around data security, data transmission security, securing those VPNs. And are MSPs prepared, especially in the vertical that they may be working in, where a certain level of security is certainly required, of the liability that they may have to look at taking on if they are cutting some of those services. So I also think it's a really big opportunity to relay the value of what you're doing, and I think it backs up, like Matt said, the conversations that you've been having for years with your clients. This may be one of those times where they're actually using those services to a much greater degree than they ever did, right inside of their office network.
So that actually kind of leans into our second question, which is, are there any standard policies that you, the vendors, or your partners have put in place for price reduction or price relief during this time? Ryan, I'm going to keep it with you. Does ConnectBooster have any standard policies going on right now?
So what we've done, we've created a blanket. if individuals are reaching out and talking to us. We've only had a very few handful in some of the most impacted areas of the country, and it also related to where the MSP was serving in a retail or hospitality type vertical, which has really been hit the hardest. Aside from that, you know, most MSPs are servicing other service-based businesses, which are oftentimes mission critical in this time. But we've done a 90-day delay in billing with those partners, where we will reassess after 90 days, you know, what the impact of this thing is. Are things coming back? And then I think one of the most important pieces, and I think this flows down to educating our partners on how they should be dealing with their clients, is this is not a complete waiver of fees. We're going to make that up over a 6-month, you know, extended repay plan. But I think it's important for all of us to be working together, us with our partners with their end clients, making sure that that revenue is recaptured over a period of time.
So it sounds like ConnectBooster is playing to the strengths of managing cash flow and helping their partners manage cash flow in this
Absolutely.
time.
And giving advice.
Rob, what about Datto? What are you guys doing?
Same kind of approach that I was talking about before, same approach that we think the MSPs should be taking with their end users, which is ultimately working on a case-by-case basis. Like, what are you dealing with right now? Where do you need help right now? Because we are seeing a lot of MSPs that are doing very well, and a lot of MSPs that are actually growing their businesses throughout this time and finding opportunities. And the end user market, unlike in the past, the end user market is valuing the channel and valuing the services that the channel is providing more so than ever before. So I think it goes back again that none of us want to see anybody go out of business. And I think that this time, like we've been around, like all of us have been around for a long time. I know, Matt, like you've only been here for about a few months, but Dan, I mean, come on, like 20 some odd years here. Like
3 years, come on.
Through the Spanish flu with the channel, he went through World War II with the channel, those kinds of things. But when you think about like Y2K, you think about the dot-com burst, you think about the 2008 recession, like all those devastated businesses, period. COVID's different. In my mind, it's different. And I think that the fact that IT is in essence been able to actually keep a lot of businesses going. A lot of SMBs are in business because they had the ability to go and work from home. That was not a thing in 08. And even then in 08, we weren't looking for reasons to go work from home. We were looking for ways to save money. So this is just, it seems to be a little bit different. And I think depending on how the market does after all of this will determine whether we need to talk about things like cutting prices and renegotiating contracts and people going out of business. And I get right now, we're not insensitive to it. It's something that's super important, but I think it's still a case-by-case scenario at this particular point. So, and we've been working with those MSPs, some of them really, really good, strong MSPs, just servicing the wrong vertical at this particular moment that have been devastated by it. We're working with them.
Cool. I'm going to move on ahead now. I'm going to try and keep this on schedule for a little while before we completely lose it. Mail Protector. I'm going to do a quick commercial for Mail Protector. As many of you in the audience know, I've been channel chief with Mail Protector for about 5 years now. Mail Protector really is the email security leader in the space, from an evolution of products that have helped MSPs go to market and grow. Probably the simple best example of that is Bracket. When I used to be at events and get up on stage, I'd ask partners, you know, how many of you heard of Mail Protector? And 2/3, 3/4 of the room, hands in the room would go up. And I'd ask if you've ever heard of Bracket, and even more hands today go up because it's had such an impact on the industry. The idea of controlling email security from a single panel, the idea of being able to drive all of your email security platform at the drop of a hat as needed. Email security is something your customers need when they need it. It's something that you should have available to them, and tools like Bracket for encryption and Secure Store for backup of your email is all very, very important. So thank you for a quick note from Mail Protector. All right, let's keep moving forward. Matt, I'm going to go back to you again. What's the largest surprise you have seen during this period, either from your partners, from your company, from the channel as a whole? What's really caught you off guard? I didn't expect that kind of moment.
Well, I'll actually start with answering with what's not a surprise. You know, as Rob alluded to, I've been in the MSP industry for about 3 years now, but I have learned a lot, and courtesy of him as well. But you know, how much this industry has come together has been no surprise to me. And I don't just mean that from the MSPs, you know, the vendors. I mean, Rob and I have traded texts. I've traded texts with Colin Knox. And yeah, we're all competitive on different levels and whatnot, but people in this community are coming together, whether we're competitors or not, to do what's best for the channel. We all want to survive. This is our livelihood. And, you know, the biggest surprise I'd say from the MSP space is just how many MSPs are actually thriving versus just surviving. I mean, we're seeing MSPs really pivot in an incredible fashion very quickly. I mean, you've got MSPs doing, you know, Teams trainings every day on through LinkedIn posts and Zoom trainings and finding new avenues. But it's really been interesting to see the ones who I mean, no one was prepared for COVID-19 specifically, but it's the MSPs that actually had disaster recovery plans in place. They had all these things. They had 2FA. They had, you know, they had a lot of the security in place for a remote workforce, and they adapted very quickly. And those are the ones that are right now. I mean, it's awesome to see. I mean, you know, of course, there's that initial bump that everybody in the industry probably felt with tickets and things like that to do the remote work. But I mean, we have MSPs doing more business than they've ever done, which is, I mean, I don't know if that's a surprise, but it's just really cool to hear.
Absolutely. Thanks, Matt. So Dan, I think Rob said that, I can't remember, I think he was talking about you. You've been in the industry since Spanish flu times. What's surprising you?
Well, we've seen it a couple times before, and to Matt's point, I am not surprised by this is what I love about our industry. What I love about the channel is when it's a hard time, this community comes together. We're doing Zoom meetings on the vendor side. To Matt's point, you know, we've got 50 vendor partners and MSPs all getting together just to have a drink on a Thursday night together. So really coming together as an industry and figuring out how to do this and educate each other. One unique part of this pandemic, which is we haven't seen before, and I'll take it internally, I've never had to move an entire company to remote. We're going through this as businesses as much as the MSPs are and their customers are. And I was just overwhelmingly surprised at how well adapted even my own team was to go home, pick it up, and not miss a beat. You know, we made the decision on a Thursday we were going remote. Everybody was remote on the Friday, and the business and the support of our partners literally didn't miss a beat. I had one of my employees move all the way back to New Zealand during this period and was literally 20-hour flight and back on with partners the next day. So I'm incredibly impressed and blessed to be a part of the industry, and this is when we're at our best, when we're rallying around hard times and figuring out how to service the MSPs, the channel, and ultimately the customers who are not as blessed as we are. Some of them are going through some pretty devastating, you know, impact on their businesses. But I know the partners I've talked to, they're looking for ways to help all of those businesses short term and long term. So again, I think it's a proud moment for us as an industry.
Absolutely. So Ryan, what about you? Any surprises that have come out of this? Anything that really shocked you?
Well, I think my perspective may be a little bit different because I was pretty early in my business career, you know, going through the 2008 financial crisis, right? And so this is the first big thing that our organization has seen. And to quote the line, you know, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. This was a punch in the mouth, and the plan worked. And I was like, holy crap, it was maybe like 1 week of what felt like turmoil, chaos, you know, from a support, you know, sales, just that whole end, and then everything went back to normal and everyone was spun up, including our office, right? And so pretty incredible from a guy that this was his first real swing up to bat in something real major like a crisis in business. Pretty cool to see. The other big surprise, just in general, was the federal response, you know, and some of the loan forgiveness programs if those funds are used appropriately. And I don't know really whether I have an opinion of positive or negative, or what the greater economic ramifications are going to be, positive or negative on the economy. But for businesses that need help, it's something to get on, talk with your financial people in your organization, your CPA, your CFO, and take advantage of what's there.
So I had an interesting experience, Ryan. When I called Log Me In order to get this webinar set up, they explained to me that they were doing 5 times as many onboardings per day as they used to do on a weekly basis. So some companies are absolutely growing as a result of this. Rob, what surprised you? You have exposure to a lot of MSPs and a great handle on what's going on in the channel. What's caught you off guard?
Yeah, I agree with Matt. I think Matt's got it bang on that not surprisingly, the vendors have kind of pulled together and done their thing and been calling each other out, as well as helping each other during these times, because I think we all realize that, high tides float all boats. And it's something that, we've all been working towards over the last, I want to say just in the last 2-3 years, towards this whole open ecosystem, working together, being respectful of the MSP and the channel and the community that we all serve. What's surprising is that, let's be honest, vendors are usually oblivious to a lot of these things and tend to do stupid things. And I think we all expected some vendors out there to be holding webinars as to, how to take advantage of COVID-19 and just be really oblivious to the needs of the channel, what was actually going on, the ramifications, and we're literally dealing with illness here. This isn't just this isn't just a business impacting thing. It's like societal. So there tends to be the snake oil artists that come out, and don't get me wrong, they've been out there, but I think overall they've been pretty quiet, and I think that's been a great thing, and basically surprising about how we've all done as vendors. Most of us have done a better job, rather than just assuming all MSPs are sitting at home and just wanting to switch to your product, or switch to your vendor right now. The other surprise for me is how busy everyone is, including myself. I was genuinely worried. My job is literally to be on a plane, and I got grounded, and I'm sitting there going, well, I guess my career is on hold for now. And I'm busier now than I've ever been before. And I'm worried that now they're going to be like, why don't you just stay in your office rather than get back on the road? So not just us, but the channel, the MSPs that I talk to are immensely busy. Everybody seems healthy financially, even physically. So yeah, we'll see where all this comes out. And just go back to Ryan's, like, it's the same thing with these SBA loans in the United States and all the other countries. Like, they're all kind of like tentative, because again, they don't know what the end result is, or is there going to be more mass layoffs in our industries, that kind of thing. So these things are all with caveats and catches, and let's see where we are in 3 months before we decide whether you have to pay this back or not, those kinds of things. It's interesting times, but how everybody's working together, as Matt suggested, it's impressive.
So let's dial in specifically. Ryan, I'm going to take this over to you. What specifically have you done to calm down a panicked partner or client? I mean, it was really nerve-wracking, especially for the first few weeks of this. Yeah. Everybody was shaky. Nobody knew what was going on. And Rob just said it. We still don't know what's going to happen next. So what have you done, Ryan? What specific conversations have you had with partners to help them out?
Well, I think the first thing is genuinely listen. Instead of having a response right away, and it's not listening to even respond. I think it's very important to listen to understand that individual and that entrepreneur and that business's position. Because when you don't even necessarily have to agree, it's just to understand their position is the only way that you're going to have a breakthrough with an individual. And oftentimes, if you're coming to that point, or they're flowing up to the president of an organization, they're wound up, at that point. So tone of voice is huge. I mean, even the way that we would be able to affect mood on this podcast by talking a little slower and calmer, right? That has a huge effect in helping put someone in a positive mindset. Actually makes them smarter. I mean, there's science around that. And, you know, when someone is put in facing a situation in the negative, us working with our partners to help bring them into a positive mindset, you're going to be able to come together with the solution. But it starts on your side, on our side of calming down that situation, listening to understand, and then asking really good collaborative questions on how are we going to work together to get through this, where we're helping you in a time of need and we all survive and we can continue to offer this type of service as things ramp back up and we don't hurt each other. And that's key. You instead of just putting out solutions, we must approach these escalated situations as listeners first, and listeners to understand the situation.
All right, so Matt, let's move it over to you. What do you think? What are you thinking on this topic?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Ryan hit a lot of really good points in terms of listening, and I think, you know, asking the right questions, making sure you understand the makeup of their MSP. And the one advantage vendors have is that we talk to a lot of MSPs, and not everybody has to reinvent the wheel. I mean, we may have heard some really awesome ideas from some of our partners, and we have an opportunity to share those with you through our channel programs. So one is really educating them on other opportunities to be thinking about. You know, we sort of joked, I joked about live streaming, you know, streaming as a service. I actually do think there's legitimacy there. I mean, you've got churches that are having to now completely shift, right, to online, and fitness places that are doing that. There is new opportunity that MSPs may not have thought about before. And it's funny enough, my wife is like very good friends with a priest, and we were on a call with him the other day, and he was just talking about how he's doing all this stuff through, you know, Zoom, and he's, you know, trying to get himself out there. And like, that's just a perfect example of somebody who needs that expertise. So there's lots of different new opportunities. On a personal level, I mean, I've been holding these LinkedIn live panels where I've just been hosting MSPs really just to have an open kind of conversation. Some of it is like completely unscripted. It's just, what is the state of the MSP? Let's just talk about it. Let's take questions, so that, you know, because not every MSP is part of a peer group. So they don't have that opportunity to hear from other MSPs, especially not, you know, being able to go on the road. So just trying to bring that, and then just really taking advantage. It is actually an excellent opportunity to take advantage of the resources that vendors have in place. A lot of them already have that in place, including us, but maybe you didn't have the time before to really dive into those resources. I mean, I know through our powered services program, Dan Tomaszewski just dropped like 50 documents, trainings, informational materials, all related to COVID-19 and doing business, and how to survive and do that and thrive during this period. So yeah, you know, taking advantage of the things that your vendors are putting out there is, I think, also really important.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, Matt. I think if you're panicked, you're focused on the problem and you're not focused on the solution. The alleviating the panic will come from finding the solution, finding the other avenue. If you get tunnel vision on the doom and the gloom and all the chaos that we are literally in, it's easy to become panicked. I think the important thing is you look for those opportunities, and I couldn't agree with Matt more. The opportunities and the solutions are out there, and talking to other partners. What we've learned from our own partner base is what we're now representing and telling other partners to do. Not that we came up with it, we saw partners having success in certain areas, and I couldn't agree more. You know, everything's moved online. My youngest son is in fencing, and he's now doing fencing over an 80, you know, in front of a 60-inch television, which I'm sure he's going to put his foil through one of these days. But there are opportunities out there.
So Matt, I'm going to hand it over to you for a second. Tell us a little bit about what ID Agent is doing.
Sure. So most of you out there, if you've heard of us before, probably know about our core product, which is dark web ID. So we monitor the dark web for credential exposures associated with the breaches happening on third-party websites like LinkedIn and Dropbox, employees using their work emails on those websites and exposing risk to the organization. We also have a live prospecting tool. It's one of the biggest reasons we grew over the last few years. It was where you can actually put the domain of any organization and pull up the 100 most recent emails and passwords that have been exposed. So it empowers an MSP to have conversations around security. Now, using that live data search today is a little different in this COVID-19 kind of area that we're in. So maybe you're not aggressively using that as a prospecting tool, but really is part of an educational package where you're pulling the report and having the conversation around security and say, by the way, this is something we also do, and showing the report. We then launched Bullfish ID, which is our phishing simulation and security awareness training program. I actually think there's no better time to start implementing this stuff than right now. MSPs need a baseline, especially as employees are going remote. This is an excellent opportunity to kind of introduce this. And you kind of asked the question, what are MSPs doing for some of their customers? You know, while I don't love trial periods, obviously we're in different times. This is a good opportunity to do the trial period of, hey, let me run a few phishing simulations now so we can get a baseline of where things, you know, from where we're going. And then the final component we just launched last week, which is called Passly, which is our 2FA, so multi-factor authentication, single sign-on, and password management platform. So really, ID Agent's almost its own little security bundle now, and we're really excited about that. And if you're an ID Agent partner, we actually have 10 NFR licenses that we automatically give you for Passly. And then the last thing I'll say, Ted, because I didn't get a chance to answer, just in terms of what people are doing for their own customers or vendors, and similar to what Ryan is doing, ID Agent really through Kaseya, which is called Kaseya Cares program, we are offering some type of deferment as well. But as Ryan said, there's some give and take. I mean, it's not a freebie. It is being added to the contract and the contract terms, but it is an opportunity to defer some of those payments to really help the MSPs out in this period.
Cool, thanks, Matt. All right, Rob, I'm going to ask you. You mentioned before that you spend your life on the road and you were responsible for the business development team at Datto. How have you responded and guided your own teams? What are you telling Datto about the response to the channel as we move down the road here?
Well, these are unprecedented times. They're unusual times. I think, as we've all been talking about, like very, very strange kind of scenario. And it's funny because the first day I'm sitting at home and I walk into my home office, which I've never used before, and I'm sitting there going, what do I do now? So I think because then everybody's exactly like you're saying. They're calling me going, what do the MSPs want? What are the MSPs saying? What are they doing? Do we start pounding out webinars to talk about moving products? Do we start, just do like whatever? And I, first thing I did was just called a bunch of MSP partners of mine and said, what's going on? And, I think it goes back, I think Ryan's mentioned it. I think we've all talked about it. I think Matt talked about it too. It's just being there for your partners at this particular time, right? And what I did was just literally call them and go, like, what's going on? And you find out that everybody's hair is on fire, and for them it's even weirder times. And it goes back to your last question that everybody's panicking right now. But then, do we need to panic? Should we be panicking? What should we be panicking about? So my advice back to my own organization was just be there. Just be there. Let's not put any pressure on anybody. Let's not think about really emphasizing on sales like we traditionally have. We've got a reputation of being a very aggressive company from a sales perspective. That has completely been reeled back. And instead, we just had all of our account managers call their partners and go, what do you need? What can we do for you? And funny enough, we found that MSPs were doing the same thing for their end users, which is just calling their end users going, what do you need from me right now? Because I'm here, I can help you, but what do you need? And I think that's probably the most important part through all of this is just communication. Let's just talk to each other. And again, I've mentioned it a couple of times, nobody wants anybody to go out of business. And I think the channel's fortunate enough that there's enough value here that if you call your vendors, most of us do treat you like actual partners, and we want to work through this with you. We're not cold-hearted. We're not, big faceless companies. Just call your vendors and say, look, I need help. And we've been through that scenario already a few hundred times just in the last couple of weeks.
Great. Dan, what about you? How have you been leading your team and your channel engagement?
I'll mirror Rob's comments. I think communication's been the key, Ted. Obviously, I'm very used to working remote. This is not the first time I've been in my home office like Rob. I've spent a lot of time in this chair over the last few years, but it was important, I think, for our team members who were sent home for the first time. I write a weekly pretty significantly sized update for the entire company, and give them updates because it is unique for a lot of our staff. You know, Rob's team, I like reading all their stuff on LinkedIn. He's made them all right. You know, what's been different about being off the road. Jason's was pretty good yesterday and a little shocking in some areas, but I think it's communication. That's all we can do. Again, I've been extremely proud of the team and our recommitment to partners. You know, I asked them, hey, everybody's suffering here, and the only thing we can do is hold up our role and responsibility to our partners. And I've seen the team members double down on that and really, just to Rob's point, listen and communicate. We're trying to do that as much internally as we are externally with our partners.
Awesome. All right, I'm going to move forward to the next question and ask this one of Ryan. Ryan, have you seen an increase in demand for your services or more requests for cancellations? What's it feel like out there?
It has been crazy from an increase in services. Individuals, you know, companies that we've talked to 2-3 years ago where, you know, maybe the need wasn't as pressing for an electronic payment or taking checking account information and converting that to an electronic transaction has been unprecedented. The need has been huge, and we're excited to be here. You know, we have a couple of promotions that we've done to help ease the upfront burden, remove barriers to get clients on board and help them out, making sure cash flow, which is the lifeblood of any business, is continuing to flow in uninhibited to their business. You know, as a greater organization, the restaurant side, that's been abysmal. And we've done a lot to, you know, we operate like an MSP on that side. I mean, we've learned a lot from the channel. I mean, you know, we are service contract heavy. We have a stack of solutions that we're selling, and you know, we're one of those companies that's getting hit real hard on that side. So we've seen a decrease there, but also I think we're getting that perspective of the partner that may be having a tough time. I as much as I don't like it from a business standpoint, it's almost invaluable from a understanding point of view inside of the business. But the payment side and service-based businesses and IT service providers and MSPs has been just wild, and we're having a lot of fun helping out because it's really providing a great result for those businesses.
Cool. So, Matt, what's going on at Kaseya and ID Agent? What are you guys seeing? Are you getting busier or are things slowing down?
I mean, look, we're still processing new partners every day. You know, of course, you're always going to, I mean, look, even in good times, you get cancellation requests and things like that. That runs across all vendors. But in, you know, many ways, COVID-19 honestly has empowered MSPs. I mean, Rob hit on it before. I mean, they've been established as essential workers. So, you know, SMBs, I think, are now seeing, I don't know how you cannot feel this way as an SMB, that you don't need to lean on an MSP at this point, specifically with all this remote work. So we're seeing, you know, obviously the SMBs coming around to it, but kind of the biggest increase we've seen is MSP partners reaching out to our powered services team, which we're the ones where we're getting on what we call goal assist calls, where we either go through marketing strategies, you know, go to market things, or actual webinars where we jump on as subject matter experts. You know, sometimes we take for granted, you know, as BD people or sales people, like we're all so comfortable talking in front of people. A lot of MSPs are not comfortable doing that. So if they can lean on us to attend a webinar and represent them, that's been probably the biggest uptick that we've had on as far as a partner program, is MSPs asking us to jump on calls and educate their customers through the webinars. Again, you know, MSPs it's a unique opportunity to have more time with customers than you've probably ever had before. I mean, you know, people commute 2 hours a day sometimes to their jobs. Now they have that 2 hours back. People are seemingly willing to give you much more time. So, you know, it's taking advantage of that.
Yeah, we've experienced that too. Originally, the MSPs were very, very busy, hair on fire, and things have slowed down a lot. And they have the time to have the conversations. And I think people are being nicer too, which has been a recurring theme on this call. Rob, what are you experiencing? And Datto's got a prolific channel base. Are people getting busier or are things slowing down?
Yeah, busier for sure. There's no doubt about it. It's changed a little bit, meaning some of the more like different products are really hot right now versus those that we have been traditionally selling. Like, BDR has been our core product since day one, and our sales there continue to stay strong. But we're seeing massive increase in things like ORMM and SaaS protection, all the things that we need to extend into those end users that are now working from home. Or I find that a lot of MSPs are getting phone calls from the guys, those businesses that were kind of on the fence as to whether they want to do business with an MSP. Now all of a sudden they need them. We've been doing a lot, and all of us have been talking about co-managed IT moving up market for MSPs. We're starting to see larger organizations where their in-house IT teams were not prepared for this, and meanwhile MSPs were. So we're starting to see those types of opportunities coming in. So I think that the reflection of all the growth that each of our organizations are having as vendors is reflecting the growth that the ultimate MSPs are having as a result of end user demand. I think it's just a little bit different, but all's been good. Yeah, very good.
Good. Dan, bring us home on this question. What's going on with Warranty Master? Are you guys seeing an increase in business, or are things slowing down, or is it a little bit of both?
No, it's definitely growth. Our partners are seeing enormous opportunities, and we're in extended warranty businesses. We are in asset lifecycle management. So what's been interesting and surprising to see is the number of assets under management have actually gone up. When a lot of these businesses moved to remote, they were adding new assets into the IT environments that they were managing through the remote workforce. So that immediately gave our partners more assets that they were managing. And then the second big spike is on extended warranty services. Leaving those things exposed and out of a service contract is either a way to put off a replacement of a piece of hardware for the short term, but make sure it is under a warranty service coverage. So we're seeing increases in both that, and we're trying to share that with as many of our partners as we can, because many of them are doing very well in those areas.
Cool, awesome. All right, Ryan, I'm going to kick it over to you for a minute. Tell us about what's going on with ConnectBooster and what's this Rev thing?
Yeah, fair enough. Well, as most of you know, ConnectBooster is the preferred way to ensure cash flow inside of the channel, which is integrated to all the tools that you guys already use to make sure that recurring services are being paid and moving from your client's bank account to your bank account on an automated recurring basis, and intelligent with how you bill on a contract or agreement or invoice level. I think oftentimes service-based businesses, and now more so, have realized they inadvertently put barriers in front of their clients to give them money, and we're here to help remove those barriers. And specifically, and now more than ever, transparency and 24/7, 365 access in billing is paramount to ensuring that your cash flow continues. The other thing that's paramount is Rev. Rev is the ability to take all of the benefits that you know and have received as a ConnectBooster partner inside of your business and be able to extend those same benefits to your end users, your clients. And there's nothing that is going to help ensure your cash flow more than ensuring your customers are getting paid. That's a daisy chain effect that can happen and have real negative results. So if you understand what ConnectBooster has done to ensure cash is flowing into your business, you can offer those same type of benefits to your end clients and make sure that everybody is benefiting. This also is a monthly recurring revenue opportunity without monthly recurring work, and there are very few of those inside of really any organization or channel where you're able to truly leverage our talent, our resources, and not add underlying overhead as that recurring revenue builds with that program.
Sweet, thanks Ryan, appreciate that. All right, so the next question for the panel is, what are some success stories you've heard from MSPs shifting their strategies during COVID-19? I'm gonna kick this off a little bit, just tell you a quick one about a Zomentum partner who took advantage of the opportunity as everybody started to go home. Zomentum has the ability to send out quotes and proposals with a video linked to the quote and proposal. So this partner sent out I'm not even sure how many. I think 400 proposals to prospects and existing clients with just a flat rate. We'll take your business home on a flat rate per person. They sent that out with a video explaining how they were going to do it, why they should do it, what the opportunities were, how they bring them back, the whole 9 yards. And that opportunity drove a lot of revenue. I was told about that one from one of them, who was one of our partners, who was really excited. So, Matt, have you heard any success stories from any of your partners that you'd like to share with everybody here?
Yeah, I've got two really cool ones to share. One specifically out of Canada, an MSP. He is vertical centric in terms of dental offices, and obviously right now dental offices, that's a tough vertical if that's your only vertical, because to my knowledge they're only open for emergency cases. So he really had to look at ways to reinvent himself quickly. So we were talking with him and discussed, and it's something we've always been pushing our partners to do, which is get in front of your local chamber of commerce. And he was able to get connected with them. Look, chambers are looking for content too. So he was able to do a presentation through his local chamber, and he was able to land 4 projects from that. And look, I understand not every MSP wants to take on project work, but when you're trying to pay bills, in this case, he was very happy to take those projects. And he had 1 to 2 MRR opportunities come directly from that opportunity. Another really cool one, and we've touched upon this idea of just reaching out to people, saying, hey, is there anything I can do to help you, or just checking in to see how you're doing. This gentleman reached out via LinkedIn to his connections, and was very simple message, and it was just very similar to what I just said. And he's now got 6 MRR deals basically in process from reaching out just via LinkedIn with a simple message. And I'll give you one extra tip on a LinkedIn thing to do, because I believe most people are not doing this, and it's really unique, which is if you're connected on a first degree on LinkedIn, you can actually send somebody a video message as well. It's really unique. Because it's unique, people will actually watch it, and it's really personal. So it's just kind of a tip. If you haven't done it, test it out. You can do it through your phone and just send some of your connections just these simple messages, and that stuff, I believe all of that stuff we've been talking about, it all comes back to you. It will all come back to you afterwards.
Cool. Dan, what about you? Specific story?
Yeah, I touched on a couple, Ted. I mean, assets have really come to the surface, and we've seen, I touched on the extended warranty service. One of the shocker ones I got from partners is we've had the capability of reporting inside the application forever, and a lot of partners use it. I was pleasantly surprised the number of partners said, look, I just took the reports I could generate out of the application and sent it off as a service to my customers to say, here's your hardware asset inventory, here's what you need to be planning for. And many of our, call it best in class partners use it in a QBR and so on, but so many partners looked into the applications, and I'm sure you can find it across all of us and the applications and services that all your vendors are providing you. Look a little deeper. What am I missing? Have I been using this application to its full value? And that was a nice tidbit for me to hear from some of the partners going, wow, you've been telling me about reporting for so long, and once I looked at it and sent it out to my customer, they responded very favorably. It coincides with the communication plan. Just what can you do to help your customer today? Hey, here's something as basic as an asset inventory of what's going on, what you need to budget for, because they're all in the same boat. They're planning for Q2, Q3, Q4, and when, God willing, we're all out of this, what their future plans will look like. Anything, it doesn't need to be a sale. It doesn't need to be a new MRR. It's maintaining customers and maintaining your value. And it can come from a phone call, as Matt said, or take advantage of some of the applications you've got in-house already.
Thanks, Dan. Ryan, what about you?
Yeah, one of the coolest was we have a partner that's utilizing the REV program that services a lot of not animal doctors. What am I thinking? Veterinarians. The word slipped my mind. I'm like, complicated word there. And a lot of those transactions for that partner's client base were happening, face to face at time of service. And when things had shifted, it brought about a need. A lot of these vets were doing like home calls, right? Or people literally kind of like curbside service, you know, buying medication, not shipping it. And so we were able to shift them over to online bill pay through that partner mobile payments, all connected to their core systems that were running on the point of sale. And really cool way to shift and ensure their clients were getting paid and utilizing our core of services to do so.
Cool. Hey, Rob, what about you and the animal doctors? Any really solid stories there?
Yeah, this is a new vertical for us, the animal doctor vertical. It's like super cool. Like, it's the new evolution of veterinarians. Right?
Is that like Tiger King? Is that a Tiger King? Is that what we're talking about, Ryan?
Right there, man.
There we go. Tigers as a service. There we go. I think there's a couple things. I think there's a couple things that good news stories, and Matt brings up dentists. It's funny because a lot of these guys are not working right now, and there's a couple MSPs that are verticalized. It's a very easy vertical, and of course these dentists are going, well, we're not working, we can't pay you. But I don't know about your dentist, but my dentist is infinitely wealthy, and a lot of the MSPs are turning around and going, you're not going to start playing that game with us. Like, you're going to continue to pay. Otherwise, all that infrastructure and data and all the stuff that we're still doing for you back at the office, despite the fact that you're not in there, we can shut all that off if you wish. So, you know, it's having enough confidence to be able to turn around to these guys through this whole process and go, no, you're not just going to shut it down and use this as an excuse. You know, I'll go back to the 08 example. Dan and I were together at our organization, previous organization, going through the 08 recession, and Dan was my boss, and I would say to Dan, well, sales are down, and Dan would go, tough, go find more, because that was his job. This is, you know, as we talked about, different. And back then in 08, like, I think that the whole managed services space was catapulted as a result of that recession, because a lot of project work was canceled. And even today, you look at, you know, if you're going to, you know, do a pretty big project right now, one-time revenue, chances are people are putting that on hold to see what the economy is going to be like post-event. Whereas recurring revenue, which we didn't have a ton of in 08, that we do today in 2020, is actually going to get us through it, because instead of a one-time big payment for a project, we're now paying monthly for these services that you've probably already taken advantage of. So I think that's why, from a health perspective, I think it's safe to say that all MSPs are probably going to lose some business. From what I'm hearing from the MSPs, the business they're going to lose is business that they probably wanted to get rid of anyway. It was those end users that were kind of not really buying in, or maybe they were nickel and diming you to begin with. Those seem to be the ones that are disappearing on the whole. A couple other big ones that I've seen as well is the staff. Like, there's some MSPs out there that were not prepared for this, that were not financially ready for this, and are seriously concerned about having to lay off some staff. Meanwhile, there's other MSPs, because if you guys remember a month ago, one of the biggest challenges that the MSPs had was finding good tech talent. Now all of a sudden we're talking about laying off tech talent. Like, it's just this weird kind of shift. So now all of a sudden these MSPs that were really hard up for tech talent all of a sudden have people that they can go and leverage. And I've been watching these Facebook communities and these different chat forums and whatnot, where they are literally farming out their technical staff to other MSPs in order to keep them gainfully employed. So again, it's like all this kind of reshifting that's going around. And of course, the big new vertical is the animal doctor vertical.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, we are winding down. We've got a few minutes left, and I want to just give everybody 1 minute to answer this final question. What's the best advice you would offer to the audience today? I'm going to start with you, Matt, and work my way across the screen. I'm not sure if everybody's seeing what I'm seeing, but we'll start there.
Sure. Yeah, I would say, you know, take advantage of the time that we've been given, you know, to review things in your business that maybe you've been putting off for the last months or years, whether it's operations, policies, you know, marketing, QBRs that you've been wanting to implement. It's really sort of reinventing yourself. It's a huge opportunity, I think, both on a business level and on a personal level. Try new things, put yourself out there. Everybody's more forgiving right now. You know, I think if we were on this Zoom call and all of a sudden, well, Rob, you have chickens. So if all of a sudden Rob's chicken showed up into this screen 6 months ago, we'd be like, well, that was really unprofessional. And now I think people would think it was the greatest thing ever. And so, it's okay to put yourself out there, yeah, and just have that opportunity to really connect with people on a more human level. That would be my advice.
Cool. Matt, Ryan, what about you?
I think keeping calm, allowing your mind to work. I mean, as entrepreneurs, we're some of the most creative people on this planet. And if you just sit back and take the time to calm down, talk to a friend, talk to a peer, heck, talk to us as vendors, we'll work to help you get in that mindset. You are going to see opportunity if you take the time to look for it and you stay calm. I also think this is a great opportunity to be reaching out to one of our most important assets, which are our clients, right? And allowing the core values of our business to really shine and operate on them and deepen those relationships with existing clients and partners.
Cool. Thanks, Ryan. Rob, what about you?
Yeah, I think in human nature, we're all naturally negative. Like we always want to doomsday everything. And why is this bad? And I think initially out of the gate, when this first started happening, I mean, we as human beings naturally were like, this is terrible. So I'm constantly looking for silver linings in order to reassure myself that everything in life is normal. And I think being positive, and I think one of the biggest things that you can do as an MSP is be positive around your staff, your peers. Just like, we're going to get through this. Everything is going to be awesome. Everybody's going to need IT. We're all betting that you're going to need more IT as time goes on. Let's just keep that in mind. And sure, we're going to have bumps, and might have one end user that goes out of business or two end users that goes out of business. Doesn't mean life is over, because we're anticipating, and the numbers are starting to come to fruition, that there's going to be more business on the backside of this that will replace that, if not even better business. So I think it's staying positive. I think Dan's right about leveraging a lot of what your vendors are doing. I get it though, we're all doing it. So, the average MSP is working with something like 35 different vendors, and for you to go to 35 different COVID care pages is going to be impossible. But there is a ton of good information that's out there, and not just special deals or discounts or anything like that, but a ton of really good information as to where to look for, like what Ryan talked about, those opportunities. So stay calm, stay positive, leverage your vendors. We're going to get through this. It's going to be amazing. And at the end of all this, we will all look back at this over a beer, drooling on each other at a bar, going, that was pretty cool.
Awesome. Dan, wrap it up for us.
I agree with everything these three gentlemen said. I would add one, stay healthy. We will come out of this. The one thing we can't come out of it with is if you've compromised your health. So take care of your staff, take care of your employees, take care of your customers, and we'll be on the other side of this soon enough.
All right, Dan, while you've got the stage, tell us a little bit about Warranty Master and what you guys are doing.
So again, for this audience, Warranty Master, we're automated asset lifecycle management, where we've seen both opportunities pre-COVID and during this pandemic. We're helping partners with their asset lifecycle management, automate solutions, deliver reporting, help your customers budget. We're seeing enormous opportunities there. If you're not already a partner, you can do a free trial at warrantymaster.com. If you are, we have lots of guidance from existing partners who are leveraging this piece of their business very dramatically in this time, and love to share that with the audience as well. So thanks.
Awesome. I want to thank all the panelists today. This has been a lot of fun and really informational and valuable. I learned about animal doctors and tigers and all kinds of strategies associated with keeping your customers. So let's move on to the last little piece of this, which is giving away $5,000. We're going to do this in 3 chunks. Third place is going to be $1,000. Second place is going to be $1,500. And third place is going to be $2,500.
This is just for panelists, right, Ted? Just the panelists?
Just panelists.
Right.
Like, half of us are going to win.
Right.
We had actually 225 people attending this webinar, so that's how we're doing the drawing. Technically, actually, the hardest part of this whole thing was figuring out how to do the drawing. We're going to draw the numbers right now on the screen. Julie, you can take over. And then we will announce the winners post webinar because we need to get the list of the attendees before we go down that road. So out of 225 attendees on the webinar, third place goes to number 56. And someday you'll know who that is. Second place goes to number 37. Wow, it's staying low. So if you got on early, you're probably in good shape. And $2,500 first place goes to
Nice.
118. My number. Sweet. Again, panelists are not in the winnings, but thank you all so much for being here. It was really great. It was nice to see 400 of you registered and 225 of you in attendance. It's been fantastic time. Hopefully we'll do more of these in the future. And everybody stay safe, to Dan's point, keep your heads up, to Rob's point, and just keep moving forward. We will get through this. It will be better, and we will all be stronger as a result of it. Thanks, everybody. Hope you enjoy your day. Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ted.